Good morning, everybody. This is the CICP Household Scenarios training. My name is Taryn Graff. I'm the CICP Administrator. If you see in the chat box, I put in the number to dial into the phone line. We've been having some issues with the audio on the computer. So if you lose audio, please dial into that phone number. If for some reason you've dialed in and you lose audio there, please redial in. Been having some issues. I'm not sure what's going on, but that seems to fix it if you redial in. I've also included the link to the CICP information website. These slides are out on the website, except the only parts of it are the parts that show the actual households. All of the questions have been removed. Those will be available at a later date once we've gotten through all the trainings. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask at any time. You can put them in the chat box. You can ask over the phone. Everybody has been muted, so hit *6 to unmute your line. Please then again remute when you have finished asking your question by hitting *6 again. And we are going to get started. So for this training, we're going to look at various household makeups for common situations that have been sent to the CICP inbox throughout the year. These are questions that I get. A lot of them I get multiple times a year. A lot of them I get multiple years in a row. So I wanted to address some of them this way and hopefully get them answered for everybody. So diving right in. Our first household is made up of parents and 3 children. They have a 19-year-old son, a 14-year-old daughter, and a 2-year-old niece. The 19-year-old is in college and living at school. The entire family has health insurance, including the niece. The household FPL is 195, and the entire household wishes to be covered by CICP. So our very first question here, are the following the correct dependent codes for the household members? So the father is the applicant, mother, spouse, son as other, daughter as minor, and the niece as minor. We've got some more seconds on this one. All right, last call for answers. All right. Okay, so the correct answer for this one is no. One of these codes is incorrect. The second question, which one of the household members had the incorrect code? Let's do a few more seconds on this one. All right. Okay, so the correct answer for this one is the son. The son has the incorrect code. So which code should he have? A reminder, he is 19 and in college. All right, a couple more seconds. Okay. All right, everybody got that one after the reminder. So his code is adult student. And I did realize when putting these together that I'm pretty sure that the adult student and senior, those are actually reversed. I think senior is actually 4 and adult student is 5. But continue. All right, so the 19-year-old, he is receiving financial aid for school. He's working at the school through a work-study program. He also has a part-time job at a local pizzeria. So first question, is he allowed to be included in the household since he's living at school? So yes, as long as he still lists his parents' house as his permanent residence, or in other words, he plans on returning, or no, because he lives at school. Okay, a few more seconds on this one. All right. All right, so correct answer for this one is he is allowed to be included in the household because he still, as long as he lists his parents' house as his permanent residence. So now that we've determined that he's allowed to be included in the household, which of his 3 incomes should be included in the household income? Should it be the financial aid payments, the work-study, pizzeria, the work-study and the pizzeria, or should none of them be included? Okay, a few more seconds on this question. All right. Okay, so the correct answer is none. Since he is considered to be in the household and considered to be living with his parents, his income is not counted from the pizzeria. It's also CICP rules that financial aid payments and work-study income is not countable for CICP. Okay, so the 2-year-old niece, she's temporarily living with the family, and the household believes that she will be with them for at least the next year and a half. So does the family need to prove that they're financially supporting the niece in order for her to be included in the application? A couple more seconds on this one. All right. All right, so the correct answer for this one is no. Support for minors never needs to be proven in order for the minor to be included in the application. So the niece's parents send money to the household each month specifically to help cover costs for their daughter. Is that money counted in the household income? There are a few more seconds for this one. All right. Okay, so that money should not be included in household income. It is technically like a child support payment, and CACP does not allow child support to be included in the household income. Okay, so 6 months after the household is rated, you find out that the niece is no longer living there. What needs to happen now? Nothing. The household will be re-rated when their rate year ends. Should you re-rate the household for the rest of the year? Or should you re-rate the household and start a new rate year? Okay, a couple more seconds on this one. All right, last call. Okay. All right, so for this one, you should re-rate them and start a new rate year. Their household composition has changed. They now have one less household member than they had before, so their SPL has changed. So you would need to re-rate them, and whenever you re-rate a household, their rate year starts over. All right, so for the household, both parents work outside of the home. And when their niece first came to live with them earlier this year, the mother took unpaid time off for 2 weeks to help the niece adjust to her new living arrangement. Does the unpaid time off impact the income calculation for the mother for the next 12 months? In other words, can you just use her straight paycheck, or is there something that you need to do to account for those 2 weeks that she took unpaid time off? A few more seconds on this one. All right. Okay, so those 2 weeks of unpaid time off, that does impact her income calculation. So she basically has, potential, or depending on how she's paid, if she's paid weekly, she has 2 whole pay periods that she was paid nothing for. So if you were to use her year-to-date and just, well, hold on, might be giving away the answer for my next one here. So what's the most accurate way to calculate her income? Year-to-date with the gross amount on her most recent pay stub, or average pay method using some of her most recent pay stubs? Okay, a few more seconds on this one. All right. So the most accurate way for this one would actually be the average pay method. So if you were to use the year-to-date method, use her gross amount and use all of the pay checks that she should have received at this point in the year, you could be counting, at least one pay period that she received $0 for that pay period, potentially two if she's paid weekly. So you would not necessarily want to use the year-to-date. You can if her entire 2 weeks just take up like one pay period. So if she's paid biweekly and she happened to take the 2 weeks where they would fall in one pay period, or even actually if she's paid biweekly, you could just subtract one pay period off because that would make up one whole pay period that she wouldn't have been paid. Or if she's paid weekly, you could take off two, but if she's paid semi-monthly, you can't really do this with the year-to-date. So the easiest way is going to just be using the average pay method, using some of her most recent pay stubs to figure out what her most recent monthly income is. All right, question 11. The father is a teacher, and he has opted to be paid only during the school year, which is 9 monthly paychecks instead of 12. His last monthly pay stub showed a year-to-date amount of $21,685. What is his correct annual income if you use the year-to-date method? I want to clarify, his last monthly pay stub was in May. We would have received 5 monthly pay stubs at this point in the year. Let's do a few more seconds on this one. Okay, last call for answers. Okay. Okay, so the correct answer for this one is $39,033. So for this one, what you should have done is take the 21,685, divide it by 5, since his last monthly pay stub was in May, so you have had 5 at this point in June. And then he's going to get 4 more for the rest of the year. So you take the year-to-date amount, divide it by 5, multiply it by 9, that gets you the $39,033. If you got B, what you did was multiply that by 10 instead of by 9. And if you got C, you multiplied the monthly by 12 instead of 9. So make sure that you know how many pay stubs they're going to get, especially for teachers. Teachers are the weird ones. And make sure you're calculating their income correctly. All right, any questions on this household? Okay, move on. Oh, sorry. We do have some typing, so let's pause for a second. All right, so question, can a spouse be added later if the wife says she didn't want to add him at first, but then changes her mind down the road? So spouses should always be included on the application. That's a Colorado state law that spouses must be on each other's application. If for some reason he didn't want to be covered by CACP originally, and now he does, you can add him later. You wouldn't have to redo the application, but he would need to sign a lawful presence affidavit and get you the documentation for that. And then you would need to issue them a card that now has his name on there. So yes, you can do that because he's already counted in household size, so nothing's changed there. All it changed is that now he wants to be on CACP, so you just have to get the affidavit and the lawful presence documentation, and then give them a new card with his name. You would not change any of the dates. The dates would all stay the same. All right, so what if the dad received unemployment during the first 3 months that school is out? Oh, sorry, during these 3 months that school is out. So that would be a little bit different. So it would still be the same income for his actual employment, and then you just add the unemployment on top of it. All right. On what if the spouse does not want to provide proof of income? I'm going to hold that question because we're going to go over that in one of the households. The parent has half and half custody of a child and is also paying child support. Can the child be counted in the family size? Yes. CACP rules that a child can be included in both parents' household sizes, regardless of like how the custody is. As long as they have some sort of joint custody, it doesn't have to be half and half. Doesn't matter about what the child support is, if it's going from the mother to the father or the father to the mother, either way, that kid can be counted in both households. All right, so if the family states they're supporting the niece but getting $1,000 from her parents for her expenses, how does that work? Still don't count that as income? No. So that technically you can look at it as like a child support payment. It's not court ordered, but not all child support payments are court ordered, so that doesn't really make a difference. So you don't count it in household or in the household income because CICP does not count child support. Can we take a verbal statement for this child's arrangement? Yes, you can. If they state that she's living in the household because, let's say, during the pandemic, both of her parents are healthcare workers and they took jobs in cities that were hard hit that needed more nurses. And that's why the niece is staying with them. That them just stating that's perfectly fine. Does the child support count as a deduction? If the applicant is paying child support, you can count it as a deduction. That has to be listed on your application as a deduction that you count, unless you're making a management exception. For child custody, does the parents on both sides partial? Yeah, so if you have, one half of them comes in, so one parent comes in and applies, or if they both come in and apply separately because they're separated or divorced or whatever, you could take a verbal statement that they have their child for, X amount of time. If you have two parents that come in and one says that they have full custody and the other one comes in and says they have joint custody, then you might have an issue, but otherwise it should be fine. And that is something that you guys are allowed to set your own policy on. If you want to have like a written statement, if you want to see some sort of like court-ordered thing, the problem with that is that not all custody arrangements are court-ordered. So you might have to adjust your policy based on if it's court-ordered or if there is no court arrangement. But you are allowed to make your own policy for that. CICP does not have one, but you are allowed to have one. All right, so child support can be counted as a deduction. It's something that you would have to have listed as a deduction that you count in your application, except for our clinics, that would have to be just like in your internal policy, so that's a deduction that you count. If you don't have that as a normal deduction, then you can use a management exception to count it as a deduction. Okay. I think that's all the questions for that one. So, household number 2. We have the pregnant mother of a 3-year-old and the mother's sister, mother's adult sister, living in the household. The 3-year-old spends half of her time with her father, who has already been rated for CICP at your facility and is included in his application. So he's already got a card. He's included the daughter in his household size. So we did kind of go over this on the last one. Can the 3-year-old be included in the mother's household if she's already included in the father's household? All right, just a couple more seconds on this one. All right. So the 3-year-old can be in both household sizes, especially if she is spending half her time with her mother and half her time with her father. But yeah, so you are allowed to count her in both. So under the CICP definition of household, and the 2 adult sisters be rated together. I do want to clarify, this is the CICP definition. This is not the clinic's own definition. I do know most of our clinics have their own household definition. This one is specifically the CICP one. All right, so let's review the family dynamics again. So the household consists of the pregnant mother of a 3-year-old and the mother's adult sister. And the 3-year-old spends half her time with her father, who has already been rated for CICP at your facility and is included in his application. Okay, last call for answers on this one. Okay, I think somebody got their answer right at the last second there. All right, so under the CICP definition of household, the 2 adult sisters can be rated together if they want to be rated together. So 14, do they have to be rated together? Okay, a few more seconds on this one. All right. So for this one, they do not have to be rated together. The only 2 adults that must be on each other's application are people who are married in a civil union or common law married. So spouses, more or less. They must be included on each other's application. Any other adult living in the household does not have to be included. They can be rated by themselves if they would like to be. They can be just completely left out and not apply at all. They do not have to be rated together. All right, so 15. Assuming that the 2 sisters want to be included in the same household, what's the household size? All right, a couple more seconds on this one. Okay. So for this one, it's 4. So you have the applicant who is pregnant, so you would count her and the unborn baby. You'd also count the 3-year-old, and you'd also count the adult sister. So you have 4 people included in this household. All right, so the income situation. The applicant works at a restaurant, and she receives tips on every single paycheck. The sister owns her own business that she runs out of a storefront. The applicant also receives child support for her 3-year-old from her father, and the household receives WIC benefits for the 3-year-old. So which of the pay sources are included in the household income? Do you include all of them, just the employment income, or the employment income and the child support? Okay, just a few more seconds on this one. Okay. Okay, so the answer for this one is just the employment income for both sisters. As we discussed with the previous household, CICP does not include child support. We also do not allow for things like WIC or SNAP or any of those to be included as an income source. All right, 17. The sister, self-employed, and she pays herself as she pays all of her other employees. So she gets a pay check from her own company. Does she have to complete worksheet 2? Okay, a few more seconds on this one. All right. Okay, so she does not have to complete worksheet 2. She gets a pay stub. She gets a paycheck and she has a pay stub. So you can just include her employment income, even though it's an income from her own business, in worksheet 1, and then you would not have to complete worksheet 2. All right, 18. The applicant, remember she works in a restaurant, she provides her last 3 pay stubs, which show that she regularly receives tips included in her paycheck. She also received a bonus on one of them for winning a contest during a particularly busy shift. So how should you handle these? Should the tips and the bonus be removed and put in the one-time income section? Should the tips and bonus be included in her annual income calculation? Should the tips be removed to the one-time section and the bonus included in the annual, or should the bonus be moved to the one-time and the tips included in the annual? Okay, a few more seconds for this one. All right. Okay, so the correct answer for this one is that the bonus should be moved to the one-time and the tips should be included in the annual. So you can see from her pay stubs, she gets tips on every paycheck. So that is something that is more or less her basic income. She gets them every single paycheck. The bonus, however, was a one-time, so that should be in the one-time. All right, so health insurance-wise, the pregnant applicant does not have primary health insurance, but the 3-year-old is covered under her father's health insurance, and the sister has her own primary health insurance. So if the household FPL is 236, which of the household members need to apply with Health First Colorado or CHIP Plus prior to completing the application? None of them, the pregnant applicant and her daughter, the pregnant applicant and her sister, all of them, or do you need more information to decide? All right, a few more seconds on this one. Okay. So you actually need more information to figure out if any or all of the household members need to go apply with Health First. So if the pregnant applicant and her daughter's FPL is 205 and the sister's FPL is 135, which of them need to apply? These are all the same options, but now you have some more information. All right, a few more seconds on this one. All right. Okay, so the correct answer to this one is the pregnant applicant and her sister. They both need to go apply for Health First before, sorry, Health First or CHIP Plus in order to be able to be on the CISP application. The reason for this, the pregnant applicant is under the FPL for CHIP Plus. She does not have health insurance. Most likely she is going to be able to be covered by CHIP Plus. The sister at 135 is within the 5% disregard for Health First Colorado. So she would also need to be denied. The daughter is covered by health insurance and therefore would not be eligible for CHIP Plus. So you need two different denials for this family. You need one for the pregnant applicant and one for the sister. And the reason that you need two is because Health First looks at them as two separate households, even though CICP considers them one household. Questions on anything for this household? If the patient gets overtime on each check, would that be the same as the tip scenario? Yes. So if overtime is something that the applicant normally gets, so if for some reason they're working like 45 hours a week or 50 or whatever it may be, if it is a constant or very common thing for them, then you want to include that in their annual calculation and not as like a one-time by taking it out and then adding it back in at the end. So yes, overtime that is constant or very common, you would leave in the annual income calculation. Okay. All right. Our third household. Oh. So we have a married lawful permanent resident. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Any additional question? Shift differential. Yeah, that again, if they're going to continue to be on whatever the shift is that has the differential, you would count that as just in their normal annual income. So if it's something that's going to continue, you know, for a long period of time, you would count it in their annual. If they're only working like a shift that is different and they get the differential, then that's more of a one-time. Yeah, so if it's just random, it would be one time. If it's something that they do like on a recurring basis, then that's when you include it in the annual. All right, so comment, printed the slides, missing lots of pages. Yes, so the slides that are out on the website, they don't have any of the questions, mostly because a lot of the questions give away the answers to other questions. So the questions are not on there right now. After training is concluded for the year, I will upload the ones including all of the questions and answers with additional information that explains the answers for the various questions. So the ones that are on the website right now are just basically the household information, and that's on purpose. I didn't want you guys having all of the questions and the answers. But you'll get them, I promise. Okay, so household number 3, we have a married lawful permanent resident whose husband lives in Brazil, and the husband is also employed in Brazil. So the applicant has been a lawful permanent resident, or LPR, for 4.5 years. Does she need to apply for Health First Colorado? Yes, no, or do you need more information for this one? few more seconds on this one.